You are listening now to the Spirituality Now podcast, the show that is solely focused on practical spirituality, leadership, and mindset skills with the aim and purpose of supporting you master your life. Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast. Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast. I am your host, Ivonne de la Flor. I'm elated, excited to be recording and sitting with a dear friend of mine. She's a mentor, an ally, a friend, family of the spiritual. I don't like to use the word spiritual anymore a lot because it's so biased, the same as everything in the world, right? Any word that has go through the hands of marketing can be used in so many different ways. I was speaking to a spiritual teacher who doesn't like the word spiritual, telling me how spiritual people are so biased, and I was like, wow, where have we gotten to that words have become a challenge for all of us? So I'm excited to get to sit with her. You'll see her. Those of you who follow us on YouTube, you should click the link of the little bell, subscribe, etc., because you can see how animated we are and how genuine these incredible guests that I have are, number one. Number two, I want to give you, I want to share with the audience that, oftentimes when I record the podcast, I have tried to figure out how to turn off all the different diverse notifications that we have. We have turned off everything. I have not been able to find it. So my apologies in advance. If you hear like a ting.
I silence my phone, of course, but there's other
but
things.
for me, I have so much in my schedule, like this and this and this, and different sounds for this and this and that. And so I have turned off everything. So I invite you to be creative. If you hear it, I think I turned them all off. But if you hear them, just imagine that Isabel, like Thich Nhat Hanh, one of the greatest Vipassana spiritual Buddhist teachers, a true embodiment of peace, in their retreat center in France or wherever he was, there, you will be talking and suddenly ting, a bell, and everybody will go into silence.
We bring you to the present moment. So anybody listening, if you got distracted for a minute, if you hear a little ding, that'll bring you to the present moment.
That's right. So, you could be my co-host, Kia. We're good. We've always been a good, we're good back and forth, unbelievable friends. So let me introduce you. And again, I'm going to share with the audience here that the bios that we are sent, always, people are so humble. Their bios are like, even though we ask for 150 words or more, etc., it's so humble that I'm like, how can I pay tribute to them? But I'll do my best. So their bios. So my guest today is my dear friend, colleague, and also a great guidance and embodiment of what peace is really for the world, is Scherr, who spent 20 years leading Synchronicity Meditation retreats at the Sanctuary Retreat Center in Faber, Virginia. She's the author of A Pocketbook of Peace, a guidebook to creating peace and transforming life with love. Kia spent 6 years in Mumbai, India, working with businesses, education, and the police. Her latest book, Forgiveness is a Choice, has now been released by Penguin Random House. That's why I'm already trampling in my words, and we haven't even started the podcast. But her book, Forgiveness is a Choice, is released by Penguin Random House, and it's available at Amazon.com. We'll put all the links for that. She's also a contributing author of Second Chances, From Surviving to Thriving, now an Amazon bestseller. She's offering personal resilience programs and individual mentoring at kiascherr.com. And again, this is the bio that we're sent. But me knowing Kia for a couple of years and maybe lifetimes, yes, Kia, and I know we have had you as a guest before when our podcast used to be called Sovereign Futures, and we are transitioning. We're going to transition again. We're just focusing on getting better and better. And you only learn that by doing things, right? But we did a podcast with you, Spanish and English. And so we're going to go because the story of Kia is remarkable. She's not only, I'm going to say the word accredited. I don't know what is the proper word to use, but to talk about peace, but what she has survived, I'm not even going to say thrive from, survived in witness of terrorism, of violence in the world, of losing her own daughter and her own husband at the hands of terrorists in an attack of Mumbai. Um, it's remarkable. And I'm going to say remarkable because I don't want to use something that is a tragic story just as a why or a story of someone. I believe her story is a story for humanity. I believe that with the current situations, we're recording this podcast while the Gaza conflict, Palestine, Israel, Congo, wow, Latin America, so many things are happening in the United States worldwide, right? A shift of political systems, a shift of education, so much confusion. I believe more than ever on gender, on what could we speak, or take care of my feelings. If not, we cannot be in Congress. It's a madhouse, and I share this with all uttermost respect to humanity. Where there's a lot of, and we're going to talk about this here in a moment. It's just a little background, and then I'll hand out the microphone to you. Where I have been in the presence of some of the most powerful spiritual teachers alive right now on earth, and they are against prosperity gospels, while not noticing that they being against prosperity gospels, they are anti-prosperity gospeling. So the confusion and the merging both of the fundamentals of power, of peace, of the past with a future that is emerging is kind of a pivotal moment for us all to be able to open our minds, open our hearts, do things different while still bringing the fundamentals, but get actualized. We die if we don't renovate ourselves, if we don't renew ourselves, if we don't adapt to the future that is coming, that is here. And so we're going to talk all about this. Obviously, the podcast has a very detonating name. It's called Imagine a World Without Terrorism. And I know, trigger warning, all of that. But I don't think I have anyone else in my life that is more equipped to talk about this than Kia Scherr. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. It's wonderful to reconnect with you this way, Ivonne.
I know. And, your voice is always reminding me how peaceful we can be. I get so excited, like a Mexican jelly bean, right? Like jumping here. And then your voice speaks, and I'm like, mindfulness. And that's because you've been years and years in meditation. So let's start there. Tell us a little bit of your background, when you were little, and before we go into the main theme of the podcast, your little backgrounds for people to get to know you before even the terrorist attack that you had to witness and lose your daughter and your husband. A little bit of your background, your spiritual training, your encounters with divinity since you were a child.
Well, the first encounter with divinity, believe it or not, was within the tradition I was brought up in, and I was raised a Catholic. And I think because we moved around so much in a Navy family, one thing that remained steady was we get to Mass on Sunday. And I think I sought refuge there because I was always a new girl. And I believed in all the prayers. And so I prayed sincerely. And I think because of that, my heart connected to what that had to offer. There was a sacred space there that, yes, it was based on belief, but it opened up something in my little heart at that time that I guess provided a little light for me as we moved around. It was a little light of peace. I found peace there when I was there, because as it's a ritual. You follow the rituals in that Mass, and it's always the same whether you live here or there, anywhere you go, and so I found some comfort in that. So that was the first thing. And then I think, you and I both read the same book, I think, and that was the book Siddharta. And that was the first time I ever learned about meditation. I thought, that's what I want to do. This is the story of the Buddha and how he became the Buddha. And I was really inspired about his life, and I thought, that's what I want. That's what I want. And I decided I would learn to meditate. And as in the course of looking around and seeing what was really possible, I was a teenager. I was only 16, so I couldn't go off to India or any place like that. So I saw a poster at a mall for a TM lecture that was happening. And my friends and I went. My friends had her driver's license, so we went to the TM lecture, Transcendental Meditation, and I learned that. That was my first meditation that I learned, and got so much out of it. I experienced peace, and then later went on to become a teacher of TM.
Wow, Kia, I love that. I love that Siddharta. It was for me too, you and I both were raised Catholics. I
Yeah,
found, and I love that you use the word refuge because that's such a powerful word, right? That people go find it in religion. In Buddhism, you take refuge in the three yuls, the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, right? And that you found it, I found it too. And Sundays and church, and you said you were moving, you found a little refuge of peace. And I love that. But then the book Siddharta, for me, it was the Dhammapada and the Bhagavad Gita, and then Siddharta. But it's so interesting to me, and maybe we can talk a little bit about this, that the Buddha is such, and the principles that he represents of personal awakening has guided also in one moment or another, right? If you transcend the confines of just religion, indoctrination, right? Guides us into the depth of self-realization, guides us with the tools he did. He was an ordinary man like you and I. And we are able to tap into meditation. And I too, got training in Transcendental Meditation. And I love that you said that it brought you a lot of peace. And congrats on becoming a teacher because, wow, Transcendental Meditation is such a long training, but such a worthy one. And you know what I love about TM? That is so scientifically based. I mean, they don't only talk about the unified field of consciousness where you tap into it the more you meditate, but they also have the backup of facts, how they have been scanning the brainwave, the results, the ending of trauma of, I love their work with Kia, with veterans, right? That they come and they're so, I've seen all the studies and I've met some of them that they cannot even sleep. They have to sleep with a gun in their beds. I mean, I feel for them. And through Transcendental Meditation, they can integrate those aspects and heal. So tell us a little bit about Transcendental Meditation. I don't think ever in the show we have spoke about it. So tell us, how is the experience of TM? Why was it powerful for you, and how can it help people in whatever order you choose?
well, because it's so simple and natural, and it uses the basic premise that the natural tendency of the mind is to settle into deeper, more expanded states of consciousness given the proper direction. And it's like taking a correct angle and just letting go, and the mind transcends. And then you bring it back to that. It's like diving into the bottom of the ocean. So TM gives you the angle, so you dive to the bottom of the ocean. There's lots and lots of types of meditation, and they all work in one way or another for whoever resonates most with that. There's contemplation, that's like swimming along the surface of the water, swimming along, maybe reflecting upon something. And then there's concentration. It's like treading water, and you got to stay in one place and you got to try to control the mind. All of them can work to whatever extent, but I found that that little correct angle, let go, take a deep dive, and a little bit twice a day was perfect. You go in, you come out, you go in, you come out. And the analogy that was used was like, it's like dyeing a cloth. Like you have a white cloth, you dip it in yellow dye, you fade it, you put in the sun to fade, and it fades away, but there's a little bit there. So you keep putting in the dye, fading, and pretty soon it doesn't fade away anymore. It becomes color fast. And when you take that dive every day in whatever method you're using, you're taking that quiet time and that peace and that silence. You go out into your activity. Pretty soon it sticks to you. It sticks. And you begin to bring that out with you. and you bring a certain peace and stability out into your busy world.
What this is the most, I started Transcendental Meditation in 2000. I believe it was when Ian was born, 2011.
Oh,
So I
wow.
started. Okay, and I've meditated before, Vipassana, all of the. You have hours and hours, and one of the things that I love about TM, and actually, you know where I got trained? In Las Vegas. I mean, of all the places in the world, I was not living in Vegas, but you know why? I was running the Rock and Roll Marathon in Las Vegas, the only marathon I ran, and the only marathon I think I will run. Kia, I took more selfies with Elvis than running the miles. I was one of the last ones to arrive, but oh my gosh, the selfies back in the days, it was the first time that social media was accepting selfies. So, anyways, while I was training and while I did the marathon, I was doing the training of Transcendental Meditation. I had just had a baby, and my teacher, wonderful teacher, unbelievable teacher, will come privately to me because I was nursing, I was training and everything. And I want to tell you something, the marathon, even though I was slow, it was brutal. The recovery process for people, I don't think they understand that running a marathon is like running your muscles away. But something remarkable happening because I was training to receive the CDs and all that. I didn't matter. I will arrive from the marathon or whatever it is. It was 4 a.m. I was doing my meditation, one in the morning, one at night. My recovery process, Kia, I don't know how to explain it. Because of that transcendental meditation was, I believe, if not 80% times faster than I would have done by myself.
Right. That is true. And that I think you're right, in that you set up the conditions for your body to recover faster by taking that time for yourself, because the body naturally then goes into recovery mode, but you have to set up those conditions, and that's what you did.
And I love what you say, like he's going, love the analogy of the dyeing the clothes. My gosh, I've never been able to understand that until right now you did it, but you explained it. But I love the dive into the ocean, and every time we open our eyes, a little bit more of that ocean comes with us until that cloth. I mean, Kia, thank you for bringing this. And let's talk about this. I have met incredible teachers, as you know. You have had, I mean, incredible teachers too. You were with Maharishi, correct?
Yes, we when I was in teacher training back in 1970. This will age me. It was back in 1974. And so, and back then Maharishi would come. So we had sessions with Maharishi, and when we actually, he gave us what we needed, we had that, and then we had a chance to sit with him individually, and he would give us the mantras that we would use in the criteria and all that. So we did have that, and yes, so those
Because
were
let's
days
talk
when that
about that.
was possible. Yeah.
I know that we all in spirituality is the journey. Well, I'm generalizing. I don't know if we all, but some of us, right? The pursuit of spirituality, self realization, God realization, awaken the master within, whatever words people want to use for that. But there's something so important about the master disciple relationship that has been so scrutinized or has been so tainted by either the egos of both master disciple or the marketing framework that has created this master disciple relationship as kind of a slavery kind. I mean, it's not transmitted what it is. I still feel that it's a treasure. However, it has a catch. It has the dangers, right? That in that master disciple relationship, both of the egos can get involved. And I don't know. Talk to me about it, because I know you know this more than anyone else, since you lived with masters, you are a teacher. Let's talk about the master disciple relationship.
Well, I think it's greatly misunderstood. And I mean, it's certainly teacher student, and that's the most simple way to look at it. But it's deeper than that, because in this case, you're talking about spiritual development. So I think it's a more intimate relationship, say, than you're learning English or you're learning Spanish, French, or whatever from a teacher. You have a teacher-student relationship. But the master simply is one who's mastered that subject. So all teachers are masters of something. Could be a master chef, a master musician, and they're a maestro, a conductor of the music. And so a master spiritual teacher is one who's been on that path for a long time, who already has stumbled and gotten up and fell and stumbled again and cleared out their own baggage, their own data, and cleared themselves out enough so that that light shines, the inner light shines, they can see clearly, and they're able to explain it and point the way. They can really only point the way for us, and then we've got to follow that way if we want to open that experience for ourselves. So they can't give us that, but we do that. But they can show us the way. They point, basically. And then there's methods that they use. So to go deeply into that and follow those methods, that's simply it.
Well, I loved how simple you put it and how the misconception, right? And I mean, I think that there's a challenge. Like, for example, I have a very obsessive personality, right? I cannot go into something, Kia. You have to know yourself, so to know where your shadows are. But my obsessive personality can go fully. I mean, I don't know how to not go full in into something. So for me, the teacher disciple relationship is very important. But I don't know if it's their religious upbringing. I could have a tendency of such devotion turn into fanatism that I see for a lot of people happening, that it's a challenge. It's a challenge for both teacher disciple. I think that the teacher has to have the skills to see when that is happening, to let you go. What do you think? How could you help us all that are like obsessive compulsive in spiritual development?
Well, I think the true master will always remind us that, the answer always lies within and the power is within us. So we keep tuning into that, opening, nurturing that within ourselves, and then we become masters of our own lives. We begin to navigate with awareness. And that's all life mastery is navigating with awareness so we can make the best choices possible that serve our greatest good and our health and our well-being, and to make those choices so that we can live the fullest life possible. It's about wholeness, becoming whole. And those who have mastered that can then show others how to become whole or remind them of their wholeness. We get fragmented. The parts are all there. We just need to integrate them and bring them all back together through whatever methods work the best that we can stick with long enough so that we can begin to develop that and let it grow and expand.
That's it. I think this is key, what you just said, that we can stick with. It's like it's mastery, right? It's for everything. Like, you
Focus.
cannot say, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Focus.
yes, focus and learn from a teacher consistently. I mean, I cannot master cooking with one recipe. I gotta be in the presence of the master. Recently I've been drawn to Zen. And Kia, did you ever train Zen? Zen has been like, what Zen has been doing to me? Well, I've been doing to myself through Zen. It's like this slap, slap. I'm like, what is this? I thought Zen, it was like, ah, no, it's like, no, remove, remove, remove. Have you ever studied Zen?
No, I've only read, I haven't studied it, but I'm aware of it, and I've gone to a certain lectures and read books and all of that. But I haven't studied it, if you're going deeply into that.
I'm not going. I don't want to. I'm running. I'm like, I'm that student that the teacher appeared, a teacher that you will love to meet. That is like number. I'm actually going to interview him, but it's so clean and clear in that area of mastery, right? In Zen, that is like, oh,
And sometimes we can get something out of, maybe we just need a little bit of that to, um, we could say, clarify our understanding about certain things, but maybe it's not our path. That happens to me all the time. I read and listen to a lot of teachers, and something they say, I get an insight, but basically the practice that I do every day, I stick with the same thing so I can go deeply into it.
Oh, I love that. I've stuck to transcendental meditation since the beginning because still I haven't found something more practical, even though, as you are aware, we support the Shaolin culture, we support the Amitabha Society of Nevada, which is mainly Buddhist education, non religious Buddhist education. I support also the monastery of my teacher of Vipassana, who is Theravada from Thailand. It's a different thing. I support the Zen teachers. It's helped me so much understand the diversity of the oneness that we are. Number one, but I still stick to my meditations, even though I've been challenged by other teachers saying that TM doesn't work. And that's where I have to make my own decision of like it works for me. And I stick to that practice every day. So, anyways, let's move into the theme of the day. So, Kia, um, I know you've been asked this a gazillion times. I just wanted to set the tone of the foundation of how solid your soul work, your inner peace is, right? But if you can share briefly, because this podcast is called Imagine a World Without Terrorism, your encounter with terrorism. If you can share briefly your.
Yeah, my husband Alan and daughter Naomi and I had been living in a completely opposite world of terrorism. It never even entered our mind, terrorism, except on that day on 9/11, of course. That was, I think, a first encounter for all of us when we become aware that, oh my God, terrorism, it's out there and it can strike. It actually came to our country. And that was in 2001, I believe. But Naomi was 3 years old, 2 years old when we first moved to the sanctuary, and she was raised there. So we had a very idyllic, peaceful life in terms of being able to live a very holistic lifestyle where we had mountain walks and our food was healthy and fresh, and we all participated in the things that needed to be done around there. But we were also teaching, sharing meditation. And this meditation was using sound technology. So our spiritual director, Master Charles Cannon, took some of what he learned in India, which wasn't transcendental meditation. He was with Paramahansa Muktananda, and he created a more Western way of doing that and created sound by just using there's an underlying sound that balances brain waves. And then on top of that, he created some music that you can listen to during that. So when you put on headphones, underneath you hear those. So it creates the same effect as, say, transcendental meditation, but you're not using a mantra is a harmonic sound, basically. So that's also using sound, and you're taking it deeply into your nervous system, and it harmonizes with your nervous system because these are ancient sounds from Sanskrit. So when you use those sounds, it harmonizes, and that's why it tends to have a much deeper effect than if you were just to pick a word out of your mind, even though it could be a positive word like love or peace. That's very positive, but it wouldn't have quite the same vibrational frequency as, say, those ancient sounds, which that's what the mantra is. So we're not so concerned with the meaning of that, which are just ancient sounds. They all just mean life. It's just the essence of life. But anyway, so you can use sound, and that's what the synchronicity meditation is about. So I felt that was completely harmonious with what I had been doing with TM, and I liked my TM, and I just put headphones on and meditated that way. And we had a chance to do longer, deeper meditations, and then give retreats where we were supporting people's processes along that way. So it
I
was a very
remember I was there. I love them. The empowerment
yeah.
retreats.
So there was empowerment retreats, and remember that's opening someone up to their own inner power.
Yeah,
I just
Kia, may
felt
I share something? You know what happened to me with that meditation? In one of the retreats in the sanctuary in Virginia, which, by the way, what an incredible place. Wow,
yes.
how beautiful it is. I still remember the lakes and the swans,
Oh
with
yes.
my former husband, the swans,
The
they were
swans
so kind to me.
yeah, the swans can attack. So in a way, they
They
were our
attacked my former husband, not me.
yeah,
You're
it,
not me. But you know what happened? I had a phobia before of closed spaces because I had a a car accident, as you know, where, I was trapped in there for a long time. And anytime there was something, the lights was off or places where that I had I don't know how it's called when you have a phobia of closed places, elevators, everything. But one time, I remember Master Charles Cannon was doing, we were using the beat technology, right? The neural beat technology, his meditations. It was one of the retreats of empowerment. You were there. Everybody was sitting with the headphones. They turned off all the lights. My heart began racing. I began to panic. I couldn't see anything. And the whole meditation lasted like 40 something minutes in my spatial awareness. And suddenly, I went so deep with the technology and the breathing and just surrendered to the fear. I didn't surrender to the grace. I didn't surrender to, and I felt literally that the phobia got out of my body. Like if it was, imagine a person hugging me, it unhugged me. And from that moment on, I don't have it. I could go into elevators, into cars, windows closed. Before Kia, I had such panic attacks, even going in an airplane. I had to meditate a lot just to be going in a plane because as soon as they would close the doors because of the car incident. So I just wanted to share that because the power of technology and meditation and consistency, but that impressed me so much. I was also really young when I was going there, younger. We were younger. Yeah, we're young, but younger. And it was really remarkable, really remarkable. So please keep going.
well, so we have, this environment that creates inner peace, outer peace, and all of that. So we're living in this world and sharing that peace with others. And that was our life. And then because Master Charles had had his training in India, a lot of people said, "We'd like to go to India. Can you show us? Can we all go together as a group, do a pilgrimage, visit the temples and all this?" And then we can share the high tech meditation with people of India, and we can have satsangs in the evening. And so my husband Alan coordinated this trip and found a really comfortable, beautiful place, a hotel right on the Arabian Sea for them to stay. And they had about 25 people with them. So so that was going on. And then I did not go on that trip. I thought I'll go next time. And I was in Florida visiting my family. It was Thanksgiving. It fell over Thanksgiving holiday. So I went to see my sons and my parents, brothers, sisters, and all that. And it was right in the middle of that in 2008, November 26th, that 10 terrorists attacked Mumbai, spread out, and this also had been planned for months and had different locations that they were going to. And one of those locations was the Oberoi Resort Hotel, where Alan, Naomi, and this entire group was staying at that time. So all we knew was that, oh my God, we got a call, turn on the news, hotel's being attacked. And this was on Wednesday, and it wasn't until Friday that I got a call because I had reported them missing to the State Department of the United States. And I got a call from a U.S. consulate in Mumbai telling me that Alan and Naomi were in the restaurant at the time of the attack and were both shot, and neither one survived. So that's when I received that news. And, that's like, it's so unimaginable. It's so unimaginable, that sort of thing, that I don't think anything can really prepare a human being for such news. Now, we could say an advantage that I had a strong, grounding in my spiritual life. And here was something happened that was like so far the opposite of that I was just numb with shock and disbelief. So I was just in a state of I was in a strange state, just it just blasted everything open. And in that blasting of open is and that's when I just received the message about forgive them, they know not what they do. And I knew that would be my way back to peace. So another topic is the forgiveness topic, and I just said yes. And I'm saying, did I know what that meant? No, I did not. I just said, okay, yes, we have to show them love and compassion. They're totally disconnected. Who are these men? Who are they that they could do such a thing? These young men hold a gun and shoot people under tables in a restaurant like it was a video game, for God's sakes.
I know. Tell people, how old were they? How old were the
Same
terrorists?
age as my young sons, early 20s, right around the same age as my sons. So when I saw the picture of the young man, I thought, oh my God. So I did feel compassion. But what forgiveness is, there's many, many layers to that. So, and the most recent one that I discovered was, can you just forgive life? Can you just,
Wow. Wow.
because life, can we forgive life on a daily basis? What
Wow.
life presents to us that we don't like or that destroyed what we knew as our life, and yet we're still here to continue going on without that. So that's a long healing process, but you know so that's the basic context of it all. Where well so then I went to India and I was interviewed with different people and we talked about all this, and one of the journalists, I thought brilliantly, came up with the phrase, because they have headlines, in title of the article, and so they were saying that I was, what I was talking about was learning to love like an extremist, because terrorists are extremists in what they do, and they're setting out to kill people. They were, and how they got to that point, lots and lots of stories about that, but basically there they are with the AK-47s. So they're extremists, we could say. Those who are controlling them are extremists, but in the opposite, it's hatred. And um, and they had just another agenda that destroyed life, basically. So to be the opposite of an extremist, to be the opposite of a terrorism means what? Love life, respect life, honor life in ourselves and in each other, because each of us is human. Terrorists are humans underneath, behind the gun and the backpack and all that. He's a human. What happened to him? He forgot about the humanity. He forgot that all these other people that are under the table are humans. So it's reconnecting our humanity. So if we're going to imagine a world without terrorism, we have to come back to that, to behave like the opposite, to have a heart-based, love-based connection. Just keep that connection going. Keep it going. Because the more we feel connected, we don't want to hurt anyone. How could we? We can't possibly. Even with our words, the more connected, we don't even want to, even if we think it, we think, oh gosh, we even feel ugh, that thought starts affecting us even. But so to actually take action, we're not likely to. So how do we get to a state where we would not take that action?
Yes. How do we? So, Kia, I know that this event, I know it's very present for us all. That when you heard, actually, when you saw all this news that this was happening, having compassion for the terrorists, and that you heard a voice like Jesus, it's like forgiving like Jesus did, right? Forgive them, for they know not what they're doing. But that embarked you into this journey of understanding terrorism, on learning about the kids are being educated. There's terrorist schools since they are really young. They're being trained
Oh
to die.
my God. Yes. So, okay. So they're educating them in a certain way. So, one of the things, like if we want to imagine a world, what would that look like? Well, what would our education look like? Well, it of course should teach people the things they need to learn: reading, writing, arithmetic, and the things about our world, to learn about our world. And included in that, is some kind of peace education, which means learning how to have inner peace and learning how to slow down and pause so we could respond in a way that doesn't hurt, because there's always going to be conflict. That life doesn't, that's going to happen. We can't prevent that, but then maybe we could shift the conflict to a resolution through a peaceful means, by meeting the person as a human, and meet them there and honor their needs, and listen to each other, share and receive and connect, even though there might be total disagreement. But yet, how can we solve this without killing? How can we do that without hurting? So I think that's a question that would come up, and that's something to be explored and to be included in education. So in the ideal world, that would be included in education. And the kids would learn how to solve their own conflicts that show up on the playground, for instance, and all of those things. And then, so that we can, like, if we really want to fantasize, about, because peace is more than the absence of war. Peace is, sure, absence of war, that's a good thing, but there can be a lot of conflict brewing, and then it builds up into explosions and eruptions, and that's what we see going on now. But I had this fantasy of there's, on both sides of whatever side there is, whatever's going on, and whatever's going on right now in the world, whatever skirmishes or violence is happening, it's always going to involve help. People's help will be needed for people who have been injured, wounded, can't get food, electric power, medical supplies, care. And so, to me, true peace is when the opposite side provides that for them.
Wow.
Can you
Wow.
imagine that? Maybe they provide for each other. We've got lots of medical supplies, but we're really short on food. So maybe there could be an exchange. And now let's start coming to each other's countries, but now we're bringing you something to help you. We're going to bring you aid. I know it sounds utopian, but that's what I'd like to envision for the future.
Yeah,
That
you are
peace.
you're envisioning, right? You're envisioning from having actually been there. You worked a lot with the police in Mumbai. You worked a lot with, with the Oberoi. You work to try to understand the psyche of them. There's an incredible book. I don't know the author. It's called I don't remember. It's something called Yes. I'll find it while you share. But it's all about conflict resolution, and they have something so powerful there that it says, instead of making it about the person, make it about the problem. Don't attack the person. Attack together the problem and come up with a solution that benefits everyone involved. If it's personal, you're going to have what we're having right now, Hamas, Israel, or the Gaza. I mean, it's such a personal vendetta that that's where it's sticky to be able to all think that peace is the most profitable decision that we can all actually practically.
It's the most costly, both economically and in terms of lives lost. But, I think that we have to get to the point where they would want that kind of solution. And if they're not there yet, I think those of us who do, there are more of us that are not terrorists. There are more of us, that are peace loving people. There are more of us that want to help each other out. And that when we see someone in trouble, we want to extend a helping hand if we can. Most of us would want that. And I think it's time just to um, amplify or turn the dial up on our own kindness and bringing inner peace to ourselves, making sure that we stay balanced within, and that we do self-care and self-compassion, that we do that for ourselves, so that within our own families, even within families, have disagreements, because sides are then chosen, and there's separations politically in this country, as you know. There's that. But to keep our focus and our priority, we could say, on what harmonizes and what unifies us, more than those differences, and accept that there are differences. And if we're actually in politics, then certainly we have to work in those ways and try to work together on that. But with families who each have very strong opinions on things, I think it's just a matter, if they want to talk about it, share and listen. Just share, listen, accept, respect that they feel that way because of this, that, and not separate from them because they hold those things. Because there are separations in family and friends.
Yeah, so to imagine a world without terrorism, we got to work with the first terrorism within, right? Like, I'm going to summarize, like to listen to others' needs, to separate problem for people, to actually be willing to sit down in the differences,
Yes.
to educate, and also in a way, and this is the challenging part, to not force, but to wait until the other side, let's say the terrorist side, or not to wait in a way that it causes more casualties, but they have to want it. They
Yeah.
have to want to heal. People have to want the way of peace. But I also heard summarizing that there's more of us that are not terrorists than terrorists. And that's the call to action for all of us, right? Not we are giving so much power by non-doing to the ones that are doing, by being afraid of the little, where the power of the big, where the power of the gathering of people, and not taking action. I think when you know what you can do, I think is in a way a kind of terrorist act also to the world.
Yes, and it doesn't mean, I mean, it just means in our own lives, go to the grocery store, you go get gas, you go to the bank, you encounter someone, things like, instead of just doing your business and walking on. But I think if you want to create those ripples of love out there, show appreciation and gratitude always, and meet their eyes and smile and all of that, and give that gift to them. And that just sends waves out, and more people do that. We're at least creating peace in our little worlds. We at least are doing that, because that's what we have some influence over right now. So, and then continue. I really like the idea. I like to also feel I'm contributing to global peace by joining the global peace meditations that Heart Math Institute is doing, those heart connections and sending the waves that way. I think 11,000 people are going to start doing some peace coherence meditations in India. So there's that. Lots of things going on online that we can reach out. And just do what we're inspired to do. But I just think in our own lives, with ourself, first of all, bring peace to ourself, number one, and then with our friends and family, and resolve our own conflicts, create peaceful resolutions in some way or another, and focus on that. And then we can extend it that way. And if we feel like reaching across the globe, we can do things that way. Um, and there are lots of ways to do that if we feel moved to do that. Otherwise, I think just continuing to be peace in ourselves, we become a beacon of light, and lighthouses will shine a long way, and it affects a lot of people.
Wow. And I love that. And we're coming to the end of the show, but you just gave very practical steps that we can all start to incorporate in our lives to not only end inner terrorism, but to be a worthy beacon of light, a contributor to society from our little world into the world, because the ripple effect does work. This is science, this is quantum physics. And I know that your book, A Pocketbook of Peace, has an incredible guideline day by day on how we can achieve this, how we can actually become that, embody that, and share it with others. And obviously, your book of forgiveness is a choice. It definitely is. And we need it, as you said, forgive life every day, every moment. And I can imagine with those tools, Kia, a world without terrorism. I
Oh,
can
thank
totally
you. Yes.
I can
Bless.
imagine it. So, Kia, we have a little ritual in our show before we complete. That is that obviously you, our beautiful guest, will give a blessing to our audience. Remember, this podcast goes also to the Latin American community. Thanks to technology, now they can listen it to a translation, the apps translate and everything, but also a lot of the Latin American community that speaks English, and all obviously worldwide. what would be the blessing that you could give to people today for them to be able to imagine and believe that we are capable to create a world without terrorism?
I would say, first of all, that this blessing comes from my heart to each of your hearts. And from the heart, love flows. And so the blessing is that may your heart open with trust so that your love will flow in abundance to all of those around you and shed your beautiful light on everyone that you meet. And may that light and those blessings of light and love and joy and abundance and health and peace flood your being, every single cell in your being. May it be flooded with divine light.
Mm. Well, thank you. Thank you. You know, I felt like the heart resonant on that. And thank you for the blessings. Thank you for your words. Thank you for your story. And thank you for you being an active participant in the education, creation of more peace in our world, Kia. We love to have you anytime back. We will share with all the audience the links to where they can reach you, of your books. So we'll make sure to have these accessible for people. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts, Kia, for joining the show
Thank you
again.
for all of the light that you shine in this world, Ivonne, really is immense. A huge lighthouse. Thank you. We
I,
all
I always aspire
very.
to, you know, I have my eventual like little moths come to the light, but which sometimes are my own thoughts. But I'm aspiring for that every day. This is a commitment I have. So thank you everyone for listening. Remember that we are a philanthropic based podcast. We don't, we are self-sponsored. The La Flor Teachings International. You hear it all at the beginning of the show. Brilliant Futures Productions and the Network for Human Empowerment. So we're self-sponsored, so you don't get commercials. You get the full scope of our teachers here. So it helps us if you share, if you subscribe, both in YouTube or we're in Spotify or any other platform preferred for your podcast. We're everywhere. But, if you can join us in Spotify and YouTube, that would be great. And share it with people. Send us your feedback. Send us your questions. And we love you. We thank you. And we will see you next week with another incredible guest in the Spirituality Now podcast. Un besito. Adios. We hope you enjoyed this new episode. And if you did, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere where you prefer to listen to your podcast. Make sure to check the links to everything we mentioned in this episode. For more news, future or past episodes, or for any other inquiry, please visit our website at delaflorteachings.com. Once again, thank you for listening to the Spirituality Now podcast.